hello, everybody in the Nord community and anyone who happens to be seeing this at some point in the future. After all the Emmas we did and everything we're doing, the team is very deep in building, setting things up, getting things going. And we wanted to spend a little bit more time as we start this transition to really what our games are going to be, how our systems will work, and why we're doing what we're doing. Underneath it all, we've talked a few times about freeing play. What is play? Play being the center of everything we're doing. So we wanted to put together a series of videos over the coming weeks, months, however long we kind of do this, as we talk through what play really means. And today is really the beginning of that kickoff, isn't it, Chris? We're going to talk about what the hell is play itself, because it's one of those things that people don't discuss or really go beyond the idea emotionally of, hey, let's go play a game.
No, you're right. And I think that goes into the first question that we want to ask is, what is play and what is play for Nor?
Play is the effective space where we're talking about potentiality in the virtual versus actualized and quantified elements. When someone is playing, what they're doing is they're very much engaged in their moment to moment. If I'm playing a video game, and I'm in the zone properly, or it's anything like that, and I'm really excited to be playing, or if I'm playing soccer or basketball or golf, and I'm not thinking about work, I'm not thinking about, my home life, I'm actually just in the game. Anything that gives us that break, that line that we can stay on one side of and keep ourselves on one side of, this is where we get to do whatever we can inside of that space. There are constraints, but there is a whole potentiality. Rather than, you wouldn't say you play when you drive to the store, because you're going from one place to another. It's a hyper quantified, very specific thing. But if you're at the store and you're looking over everything and you're deciding what you might cook and you're engaged in that moment rather than the outside of it, play starts to enter.
Yeah, for me, play comes down to fun. And it's that moment of when you are focused on something that is not necessarily work. And that could be anything for anybody, but it is the element of the gamification of an activity. And that could be as simple as gamifying economies and the way kind of how crypto has grown and became something people played. And that is something people do in the stock market. And it goes all the way down to playing the sports and the economies around the sports and the way people play off that itself. And I think there's a lot of different ways that play has evolved, but it all comes down to making sure the individuals themselves are having fun.
People who say they play the stock market, the people who say that genuinely mean it, in the sense that they're having fun. They're trading. They're excited. They're doing this. They're trying to screw someone that way. They're going shorting this. They're playing, versus someone who, they've got 50 grand. It's their life savings. They're putting it in on a bet. I'm not sure they would say they're having a good time in the same way. People who, lose their shirts in it, or people who are there out of desperation or for their 401ks, or, well, I'm really considering my retirement and how I'm going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. It's not play in the same way. But when you go out and you're just playing versus when you're out there to win, and the mind space that a player gets in when they're doing that, and the drastic difference in terms of that. Pros will go out and actually find ways to relax and have no pressure and enjoy the game again, versus the ones that go out and they have stressful, they tend to do shitty, to be frank, on the pro circuit. But the guys who do really well, John Daly, it's hard to say he never had fun. That's the kind of thing that you tend to see in a lot of sports players. Even if they take it seriously, there's the fun, the losing themselves in it, and the protection that happens inside of that space that allows them that. I would be hard pressed to say there's a great deal of fun being had by a lot of people. I don't hear the word fun very often anymore.
What do you think the industry has kind of lost the ability to deliver fun right now?
As sort of honestly money and sort of the business of video games shifted and changed, we started to get to the point where everything around that line, that once very clear line, became permeated and things become inserting. So you end up with, social clicks inside of Fortnite, where if you're not wearing the latest skins or nice skins or even skins at all, kids are making fun of you for being poor. This is a ongoing thing that's happening. Kids get bullied because of their Fortnite skins, which means that there's a social milieu that has merged into games that it didn't have for a long time, or had in different ways. I would say Warcraft would be an example of almost the opposite, where the social milieu pushed outwards, where people who were on, Horde or Alliance, they would make jokes in real life about how they couldn't hang out with each other anymore because you would chose the other side, or because of their class, because they hated rogues. I was one of those. Like, there would be jokes outside, but you wouldn't find that like wealthy people chose Alliance, or like you wouldn't find these social things pushing into the world. And as that happens, fun becomes predicated on a lot of shit that we have to worry about outside of the game. And when that happens, fun starts to melt. Fun becomes fucked up. When you're no longer playing the basketball that anyone can play or soccer that anyone can play, and instead you're playing, for example, polo is a great example of this. That's not a anyone can play thing. That's a rich person's sport. These kinds of things, it impinges. It creates the sort of other things around it. It's why polo is like a royal sport and it's considered for the wealthy. That shit, it eats it. And video games is so brutally done that way now. You mentioned to me, and we talked about this last week, how Call of Duty has started to release just flat pay to win. Like, they're just like, fuck it, we don't care anymore. Buy this skin and you get an extra piece of armor, which is literally can mean the difference between life and death in that game. Once we're at that point, what in the game isn't affected by outside? What aren't you considering? With the way cheats work now, and I'm waiting for this to really become a problem. Pay $50 and an AI will literally read your screen and point and shoot for you. At that point, what is the thing you're playing? What is the game? And as that game expands to being more of the real world, it's not fun anymore. It loses its fun. It disappears really, really quick.